I am telling you, Harry, this flat white is objectively brilliant. The roast, the temperature, it is an absolute fact that this is a proper cup of coffee.
Hold on a minute, Emma. Is it really an objective fact, though? Or is the idea of a good coffee just a social construct? I mean, we only think it's good because London cafe culture tells us it is, don't we?
Oh, you're bringing philosophy into our coffee break now?
Why not? It actually makes you wonder, when we're looking at the world, how much of what we call a fact is actually real and how much is just made up by us?
You know what? That is a fascinating question. Let's actually unpack that for this explainer, because it goes right to the heart of how researchers figure out what's true in the world.
So, stepping away from the coffee for a second, what actually makes something a fact? Because in school, you're taught that a fact is just something you can prove, like water boils at 100 degrees.
Exactly. And that traditional rigid way of looking at facts actually has a name in academia. It is the absolute foundation of a lot of scientific research.
Right, so meet positivism. This traces back to a 19th century French philosopher named Auguste Comte. Positivism basically says that if you can't measure it, see it, or prove it with strict logic and scientific methods, it's not a real fact.
So it's very black and white, isn't it?
Extremely. It relies entirely on empirical, observable evidence. It assumes that objective facts exist completely independently of our own minds.
Okay, I get that for chemistry or physics, but what about human stuff? Like, you can't exactly put culture in a test tube, can you?
Spot on. And that exact frustration led to a completely different way of seeing reality.
Constructivism. Okay, this sounds a bit like academic jargon, Emma. What are we actually talking about here?
Don't worry, it's actually quite intuitive. Think about Peter Berger and Thomas Luckman. They wrote a famous book in 1966 called The Social Construction of Reality. They argued that things like gender roles, social rules, or even the value of money aren't natural facts provided by the universe. They are built or constructed by society.
Ah, right. Like how a 5-pound note is literally just a bit of plastic, but it only has value because we all socially agree it does?
Precisely. Constructivism says that meaning is entirely subjective. Humans create knowledge through our interactions. So reality is essentially a dynamic, ever-changing process shaped by our collective interpretation.
And this brilliantly illustrates the divide. Positivism is all about being objective and quantitative. It is the realm of hard numbers. On the flip side, constructivism is subjective and qualitative. It's the realm of human experience.
It's like two completely different languages, isn't it? If I'm a positivist, I'm looking at the exact chemical makeup of our coffee. If I'm a constructivist, I'm looking at why we felt the need to pay £5 for it and sit in this specific cafe to feel trendy.
Perfect analogy. But here's the catch. Some researchers feel that forcing absolutely everything into just one of these two boxes is way too extreme.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't there an in-between option? Because obviously gravity is real, but so is peer pressure. Yes, there is, and it's called critical realism. Now, what's really interesting is how this concept bridges the gap. Critical realism acknowledges that there is an external reality that exists independently of us, like the laws of physics. Right, the stuff that hits you on the head whether you believe in it or not. Exactly. But it also accepts that a lot of our sensory data and our interpretations of the world are highly subjective and socially constructed. It's a sensible middle ground that says you have to look at the invisible social structures operating right behind the visible facts.
So that actually brings us to section 1 of this explainer, the 3 layers of facts. Modern social science practically categorizes all these different types of facts into 3 distinct groups. 3 layers? Sounds like a very complex academic lasagna. Let's hear it then.
So the crucial point is that when we study society, we're juggling all 3 of these at once. Layer 1, physical and biological facts. These are your easy positivist measurements, your birth year or the literal physical table we are sitting at right now.
Got it. Layer 2, social and institutional facts. Okay, so that's like the fact that I'm a student, or that my nationality is British, or the price on the cafe menu. If human institutions suddenly vanish, those facts vanish too, don't they?
Spot on, Harry. And finally, layer 3, personal and subjective facts. This is your personal happiness, your values, how incredibly satisfied you are with that flat white.
So when a researcher does a survey, they are actually gathering all 3 layers at the exact same time. Age, job, and how happy you are. That makes a lot of sense.
But hold on, Emma. If personal and institutional facts are so incredibly subjective, how on earth do researchers study them scientifically? This brings us to section 2, judging qualitative research standards. Because if you're interviewing people about their feelings, how do you prove you aren't just making things up after a pint?
That is the million-dollar question, and it's something qualitative researchers have battled for decades to prove.
As the scholar Morse pointed out, rigor is an essential element in science.
Just because you are studying subjective human experiences, it doesn't mean you just throw scientific standards out the window.
Right. So you can't just have a chat with three mates and call it a breakthrough sociological study.
Exactly. You need a highly structured way to evaluate the quality of the research, even when the data isn't just a spreadsheet of hard numbers.
Okay, I will be honest, Emma, when you hear phrases like evaluation paradigms and underlying epistemology, my brain hurts a bit. What are we actually dealing with here?
I know the academic phrasing sounds intimidating, but this is a famous framework discussed by researchers Miata and Kai, drawing on the work of Lincoln and Guba. Essentially, think of it as a translation guide. It shows how we take the strict rules of quantitative research, the hard math stuff, and adapt them into flexible but equally rigorous rules for qualitative research. Let me break it down for you.
So, the crucial point is this swap. In quantitative research, you look for validity. Did you measure what you meant to measure? In qualitative research, that becomes credibility. Is your interpretation of the participants' reality actually believable and accurate to them?
Ah, I see. So instead of reliability, like getting the exact same result if you run a chemistry experiment again, you use dependability, because you can't perfectly recreate a human conversation, but you can definitely show that your process was consistent.
You're a natural at this, Harry. Neutrality becomes confirmationability, showing that your findings come from the data, not your own biases. And generalizationability becomes transferability, meaning can the insights we gain from this specific cafe be applied to understanding cafes in general?
Okay, I get the rules now, but the actual process of analyzing interviews still sounds a bit like a mysterious black box to me. You feed in a messy conversation transcript, and out pops a neat scientific theory. It sounds a bit like magic.
You aren't the only one who thinks so. That black box critique is incredibly common. Which leads us seamlessly into Section 3, opening the black box with the ESCAPE method, which is a brilliant solution developed in Japan.
Enter SCAT, which stands for Steps for Coding and Theorization. It was developed in 2007 by Takashi Otani. He recognized that beginners and even experienced researchers sometimes struggle with qualitative data because the analysis process feels hidden or secretive.
So SCAT is basically a step-by-step recipe book for turning a messy interview into a proper scientific theory?
Precisely. It forces the researcher to make every single leap of logic explicit and entirely visible. You can't just hide behind saying, well, I read it and I felt this theme.
Here is how the four-step magic works. Let's use our cafe chat right now as an example. Step 1. You pull out noteworthy words directly from the transcript, so you might highlight the word flat white.
Okay, simple enough.
Step 2. Paraphrasing using words outside the text. So instead of flat white, I would write
a popular espresso-based beverage.
Spot on. Step 3. Explanatory concepts. You elevate it further. Why are we talking about it? Maybe the concept is urban consumer trends.
Oh, I see.
And then
Step 4.
Emerging themes and constructs. The theme becomes how cafe choices reflect modern social identity.
You just did SCAT, Harry. You systematically moved from a simple word in a transcript all the way up to a sociological theme without any black box mystery at all.
Now, the really fascinating part is the overarching logic of SCAT. It is a journey from decontextualization to recontextualization.
Meaning what, exactly?
When you do those 4 steps of coding, you are stripping the data out of its original messy context. That's decontextualization. But you can't just leave it there. SCAT requires you to take those final themes and weave them together into a brand new theoretical storyline. You put it back into a new context, a scientific one.
So it's basically like taking apart a massive Lego castle, studying all the individual bricks, and then building a completely new theoretical spaceship out of them. That is actually brilliant.
You know, Emma, this explainer completely changes how I'm looking at this cafe now. From positivism measuring the literal table to constructivism analyzing our social vibes and tools like SCAT helping us decode it all. It makes you realize how much of our everyday life is just built on invisible social agreements.
It really does, doesn't it? It shows that understanding the world isn't just about finding hard numbers. It is about rigorously analyzing the human experience. So, for everyone tuning into this, we leave you with this final thought. As you go about your day, look around. If our reality is largely a social construct, what other hidden facts in your life are waiting to be decoded?
I reckon I will start by decoding why I'm about to order a second flat white. Cheers, Emma.
Cheers, Harry. Catch y'all next time.